Hey guys, Chris here with Xiaomi's new Mi 8. So it is now their third Snapdragon 845 mobile phone from them, if you count the Black Shark. So we've got the Mi Mix 2S, we have the Black Shark, and then we've got, of course, the Mi 8. So this one here is also their first mobile to have dual GPS. It's something that is actually new to mobile. So they're using a level 1 frequency combined with a level 5 frequency. So it'll be interesting to see how accurate that is. It has 6 gigabytes of RAM, up to 256 gigabytes of storage. And of course, as dual SIM, there's no micro SD card support and there is no 3.5mm headphone jack. So if you need both of those, then this probably is not, of course, the phone for you. Now, it also has a notch, sadly. Now, I'm not very fond of this particular silly trend. That's just my own personal view on it. I hope it dies out as quick as it started, but it has it, and we can't do anything about that. But hopefully, we will be able to hide the notch. Now, the good thing about the screen, apart from that notch, is that it's a Samsung AMOLED panel, and it has a resolution of 2248 by 1080p. And being an AMOLED panel, it should look really decent and a step up from the IPS panels we've seen in the likes of the Mi Mix 2S. So I bought this one from Trading Shenzhen. It's well packaged up, double boxed. The phone, it looks like, yeah, okay, they've broken the seal on this. They have probably already installed Google Play there for me. Also included a power adapter, which I'm gonna need because it'll have the Chinese plug, and an OTG cable there. So Type-C to USB 3. So it looks like it might have a case. Hopefully it does, and hopefully it's a little bit better quality than those typical TPU clear cases they give us. So we just got a little manual here that's just telling you about the SIM tray layout. It's all in Chinese, obviously this being the Chinese version. Another slip there about warranty or returns or something like that. And here is the case. So it is a TPU style one, unfortunately. So it's very similar to the Redmi Note 5's case. So it does the job, but it's quite cheap. And of course, here we have the adapter there for your 3.5mm, so there's no jack included, and then our SIM tray tool. Okay, so below the phone, before we take a look at that notch, you can see we've got right there the power supply. So this will be Qualcomm's Quick Charge 4, 12 volts, 1.5 amps maximum output. And the typical white and gray Type-C cable. So looking at that notch now, you can see, yes, it's very wide, and the earpiece surprises me. It's actually a lot smaller than I thought it would be. So we have a front-facing 20 megapixel camera. Now this right here is actually the infrared transmitter. So this model will illuminate your face in low light with the infrared to help get a better, you could say, look at your face and then unlock the phone. Now it doesn't have the what you could call 3D tracking. That's on the Mi 8 Explorer model, which I hope to have in a couple of weeks' time. So despite having a notch at the top, we still have a large bottom bezel here. You can see the Type-C port, the antenna lines, loudspeaker, and microphone will be in there as well. So the back of the phone is covered with, I believe, Gorilla Glass 4. They've said it's Gorilla Glass, but not what version it is. And nice rounded curved edges. It feels really good in hand. It's made out of an alloy, the whole frame around it. So it gives it a solid premium feeling to it. They've got the buttons there, of course, on the right. On the left, the SIM tray, so it takes 2 nano SIMs, and it does have a rubber gasket around it, so that's good to block out dust and keep that from getting inside the phone. So the camera module, we've got a 12 megapixel camera that is dual pixel face detection autofocus with 1.4 micrometer pixel size, optical image stabilization, I think it's 4-stop, and electronic image stabilization, probably only up to 1080p, but I will find and check that out. So it should have a decent camera on the rear. The secondary camera has a 2x zoom on it, and it's also a 12 megapixel sensor, but it's a Samsung one, this one. And then of course, a rear fingerprint reader. So if you want the in-screen fingerprint reader, you need to get the Mi 8 Explorer model, which currently is not out, hopefully coming sometime within the next 2 weeks or so. You can see next to my Mi Mix 2S, the design of them is very similar. And I'm going to have to say that I like the design of the Mi Mix 2S better. It feels a little bit better in hand because it's got the ceramic on the rear. It will also be a lot more scratch resistant. And note that the Mix 2S is actually shorter than the Mi 8. And this is what the phone looks like in the supplied case. So it gives you a decent amount of protection. It does protect the buttons, which is great. But I've noticed that the camera is actually sitting flush here, so it's not going to protect the camera lens from scratches if you lay it face down on a table. And it weighs 175 grams. And is a thin 7.7 millimeters, so that's not bad, but that's without the camera bump. So with the camera bump here, that brings it up to 8.6 millimeters. And along the top, we just have a secondary microphone here. You can see the antenna lines. No IR transmitter, unfortunately, which is a shame. Okay, so powering it up for the first time, there's that typical haptic feedback buzz. Now, because I think the reseller's gone and put Google Play on here already for me, it'll probably just go straight, of course, into the operating system. No setup then. I do wonder if it's going to be running MIUI 10. Oh, wow, that looks so much like an iPhone 10, doesn't it? Just looking at this. An iPhone 10 with a large bottom bezel. Okay, so it looks like we do have MIUI 10, or at least a different theme they'll put on here. Okay, now, so it is running MIUI 9.5. It's still in beta number 10, so that'll be why. It's just telling me now that there is an update here, so optimize system performance bug fixes. I will run with all my reviews the latest over-the-air updates. So free available storage, you're going to get about 116 on the 128 gigabyte model that I have here. And it is running Android 8.1, which is good, not 8.0 like the Black Shark. And for those of you that like to have this information, so here's our camera sensor information. The main camera on the rear is the Sony IMX363, and then the auxiliary one for the depth effect photos, that's a Samsung sensor you can see there, and the front camera as well is a Samsung sensor. Okay, so the screen here, yes, you can hide the notch. It's kind of hidden away though. It's under full screen display mode. So I've set full screen display mode, so it's just using the gestures, not the on-screen navigation button. So hide the notch here. And when I turn that on, to me, it just seems a lot better. It bothers me a little bit, the notch, and I will not rant on about it, but I just will show you what it looks like, the notch up against, say, the non-notch phone, the Mi Mix 2S. So to me, this is a much better way of doing it. See how the top notch is actually a lot smaller than the Mi 8. So I'll just swipe down the notifications. So because of the notch, we're missing out on certain UI elements. So you do get the percentage of the battery when you swipe down for your toggles here. But if you swipe up again, so get rid of that toggle, you notice that you don't see the battery percent there. We're missing out on that. You can't see the carrier name. So there's just a few things there with the UI that obviously they're going to have some compromises with. So it's not really great. But look at the difference between the top bezel here and then the top bezel, including the earpiece on the Mi Mix 2S. Now, I know the front-facing camera is here and it's on the bottom of the Mi Mix 2S, which isn't a great location to have it, but it still works with face unlocking, and I personally find this better. Oh, and what do you know? Look at this, finally on-screen display here with a Xiaomi device. This I do like. Even if you do lose a little bit of battery every hour with this, it's great that you can just look at it and know if you've got missed calls, messages, and know the time. So of course I'll give you a close-up of the panel. Now the viewing angles, they're really good. Excellent, as you'd expect from an AMOLED panel. Again, I'm getting that banding, but that's just on camera. Now one thing I have noticed that the blacks aren't quite as deep as I thought they would be for this type of panel. It's a little bit hard to see, but you can see right here, I thought if it's very, very dark, like some of the Super AMOLED panels you get on the Samsungs, then you can almost not actually distinguish the difference between the bezel black and the screen itself, but here you can a little bit. But overall, it does look very good. This is a nice screen, and I would say, yeah, a slight step up over the IPS panel in, for example, my Mi Mix 2S. Now, if you are wondering about bloaty applications, well, we've got a couple on here. You can see Tmall, WP Office, and some other thing in Chinese that I can't read. And, that's annoying, but you're always going to get that, especially with the Chinese ROMs. Most of that stuff, you can just uninstall this and get rid of it. Now you will see also the notification LED. At the moment I'm charging just to show you where it is. Now a very quick peek at the DRM info. A lot of people have been asking for this recently, so pause now, you can read all this info. Treble support 2, not good because it's only supporting slot A, partition A, and not both A and B. And here is the Antutu score. So this is very fast. This is faster than the Black Shark. And of course you can see on the left there, it beats the Mi Mix 2S. Alright, so I'm going to test out that face unlocking. So now it's using some infrared lights. The proper 3D tracking, that is on the Explorer model, which I hope to have in a couple of weeks' time. So I'm just going to click next here. And now I've got to get, of course, my face in view. Ooh. Okay, added successfully. I didn't actually do that quite close or anything like that. So let's test it now. So I'm just going to wake the phone first. It's not ideal conditions because of the way I had my, super fast. That was really quick. I didn't even finish my sentence. So in low light then, you'll see probably those lights flashing to help illuminate your face and unlock it. And I will test that out and see how it works. So the room now is completely dark. I've put the shutter down, the lights are all off. Let's test it now. Whoa, very quick. Not bad there. Now that banding you're seeing right now, this is something that happens with my camera with AMOLED screens. Okay, so I have some disappointing news. I suspected this was such a small earpiece and the fact that it was never really mentioned, that it's only a single loudspeaker down the bottom here. So it doesn't actually have any sound coming out of that, obviously. That the Mi Mix 2S does. And as a result, I think it sounds a little bit better. But I'll give you a sample of the loudspeaker now and also compare it to the Mi Mix 2S. Okay, so we've got some really hyped up GPS claiming to be super accurate. It's using level 5 where all the other mobile phones only use level 1 frequencies. Now, I believe that there's something up here. It's either a bug, an update's needed, or perhaps maybe the software's not reporting it. But my accuracy didn't get any better than 16 meters. Now, I did see it go to 8 at 6 at one point. Now, on other phones with a Snapdragon 845, I'm able to get an accuracy of about 3 to 4 meters. Now, I thought, okay, maybe it's this app, it doesn't support it. So what I did is use Google Maps as well. And I'm not going to give away my address right here, but what I would tell you is that where I am located should actually be way up here. So I happen to believe the 16 meters of accuracy because Google Maps is quite a bit off. So GPS at the moment, even though it's got the dual frequencies, the dual GPS modules, whatever, it seems to be way off and an update is needed to fix this. Now, to briefly comment on performance, I've only had the phone a few hours, but it is very quick as you'd expect for this chipset. Now, scrolling performance, very smooth. It seems to have a really nice refresh rate, this screen, so it's definitely, I think, running at 60 Hertz, very, very smooth indeed, and multitasking. Now, I'm in the full screen gestures mode. I prefer this because I found that when you're especially writing text messages and things like that, that it causes a lot less typos, because what happens when you're normally typing away, you'll hit accidentally one of the on-screen navigation buttons, and that doesn't happen in the gesture mode, which is why I highly recommend using it. Now I'll show you the camera app. Now it's exactly the same as the Mi Mix 2S. So we do have the AI mode, which is off by default, which I prefer because it tends to boost colors unnaturally when it detects the scene. So it's telling me there it's detecting text. You can just see it popped up. So I'm going to leave that off anyway. High dynamic range, if you hit the ×2 there, that then uses the other sensor. So you've got that 2x zoom, pretty straightforward and obvious. Video, got all your different modes. Portrait mode is with the blurred backgrounds. But I do want to show you just a couple of settings here because I know that one certain website called Arena something, I won't mention their full name, they said that it's got 60 frames per second 4K. Now, it doesn't actually have 60 frames per second 4K, not using the stock application. Now, the other ones you can get for your high frame rate videos, so you can do 1080p up to 120 frames per second or 240 frames per second. So this is good to see. But what's missing is just 1080p 60 frames per second, which I would also like to see on here from Xiaomi. But I'll give you now some samples recorded on the front-facing camera and the rear, both photos and video. So this is now the front-facing camera, and you can see there is a bit of overexposure going on right here, and especially on the side of my face. So it's not brilliant. It's got an f2.0 aperture, and you notice that there is no electronic image stabilization on the front-facing camera. Other mobiles, for example, like the OnePlus 6 or the Zenfone 5, do have electronic stabilization on the front-facing camera, which I feel Xiaomi should enable just to make things a little bit more usable, video quality, and not shake around so much. So 1080p is the maximum resolution you can get as well on the front-facing camera. So this is shot on the rear camera with, of course, the main sensor. You cannot use the secondary sensor for video, and that makes sense because it doesn't have optical image stabilization. So this is in 4K, and the focus is really good, rock solid because it's got that dual pixel phase detection autofocus. And the stability is okay. There is no electronic image stabilization with 4K, unfortunately, and it doesn't work either using Open Camera. That's a third-party application. See again the focus, just how good that is. So no more focus hunting. And I'll just demonstrate how the optical image stabilization works. Just walk along here. And you can see that it does jolt around a little bit, that lens inside there. But overall I feel image quality is looking really good, perhaps a tiny little bit overexposed. It's not actually quite as bright as it looks at the moment. Okay, so let me know in the comments, what do you think of the Mi 8? Is it a copy of the iPhone 10? Pretty much, isn't it? I mean, you've got to be honest. And when you look at it, it looks so similar, doesn't it, to the design. They've copied the design, the looks of the iPhone 10. Maybe because they're trying to tap into people that want an Android device and they don't want an Apple device, and that's why if they want that same design and look, who knows. So head to head with the Mi Mix 2S, I'm a little confused as to why Xiaomi has really released this phone. The specs are so similar, the cameras are so similar, AI cameras. Okay, the front-facing camera with its unlocking infrared feature is very good. So in low light and next to no light that I had, it unlocked really quick. That was great. Now it's not going to be as secure as the Explorer model. Now the Explorer model is the most advanced model with a slightly smaller battery capacity, but it has an in-screen fingerprint reader, and then it does have a 3D face mapping unlocking. And that is supposed to be very secure. So that's a model to look out for that I will be featuring the channel later on. Now, okay, the notch, you love it, you hate it, you can hide it at least, which is something I will be doing most of the time off camera, because someone mentioned in the comments, you as a reviewer should be reviewing the device with the notch and not trying to hide it. But again, you know, it's personal preference there, whether you like it or you don't. I don't like the design choice, but I'm not hating on the notch. I just don't think it's the correct choice. Anyway, because we still have quite a large bezel down the bottom. Build quality, typical Xiaomi, excellent, feels really good in hand. We've got the glass on the back, and it is very prone to fingerprint smudges, even the glass on the front. It's all looking messy and smeary, only after having this phone for about 3-4 hours now. Now the loudspeaker, a little bit disappointing, there's no front-facing loudspeaker in the earpiece. The Mix 2S has that. And then of course, all right, the camera quality looking very good because it's got that dual pixel face detection autofocus, so it locks on really good. And in video, we're going to have no more focus hunting issues. That has been solved finally by Xiaomi, switching over to sensors that use that focus technology, which is great. And now, of course, the AI scene mode to me is a bit of a gimmick, because what it often does is create very unnatural looking photos. When you turn it on, it will boost up saturation, over sharpen things. It just doesn't look great to me, and I would never personally be using it. So some people do like that, and we have that on board, of course, with this one here. So end of the day, battery capacity, pretty much the same, isn't it, as a 3400 as the Mi Mix 2S. I'm leaning towards, I feel, the Mi Mix 2S after using both of these phones. I feel it's still the better phone, and it's not just because it doesn't have no notch on it. It's notch free, but it's just the design, the build of it feels a little better, and the screen, both of them, you'd think that the AMOLED panel would win, but they're very close in terms of quality. The screen, okay, it's a little bit of a blue tint on the IPS panel out of the box with the Mi Mix 2S, but this one, blacks aren't quite as deep as you'd expect, especially compared to, say, my Samsung Galaxy S7 or the OnePlus 5T. Yeah, those screens are a little bit darker, the blacks on there. But overall, okay, a good phone, but I also think so is the Mi Mix 2S. So we'll be back with this phone with follow-up reviews, follow-up videos, and comparisons between the OnePlus 6 that I expect to get this week, also the Mi 8 SE. I'm really looking forward to that. That's the cheaper version of the Mi 8. I will also have that this week. And so make sure you do subscribe to the channel, because I will have camera comparisons between the OnePlus 6 and the Mi 8, and the Mi 8 against the Mi Mix 2S camera comparison as well, for those that are confused on which one has the better camera, and then overall general comparisons between these phones to help you decide on which is the best for your own personal needs. So do subscribe to the channel for those up and coming videos, and thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.